Disinformation never stops, and neither do we. Welcome to StopFake, the place where we dissect disinformation and the record straight on fakes about Ukraine. I'm Fulbright Fellow Aaron Kennet, and this week we bring you the following fakes. IMF and Kyiv fail to compromise on Ukraine aid. Ukrainian food prices nearly equal EU levels. Ukrainian right sector radicals attack peaceful Russians in Greece. Now let's get to the details. In the aftermath of the International Monetary Fund's visit to Ukraine last week, Russia's official 24/7 English language channel RT declared that according to its own anonymous source in the Ukrainian Finance Ministry, Ukraine and the IMF failed to reach a compromise on the allocation of the fund's fifth tranche of aid. Meanwhile, the IMF called the recent visit to Kyiv technical, whose aim was to discuss various aspects of reforms, in particular draft legislation on Ukraine's anti-corruption court. RT further claims that Ukraine's government is unwilling to make concessions to the IMF on the eve of the 2019 presidential elections, fearing popular discontent. Instead, Kyiv hopes to plug the hole in its finances with Chinese credits. The Chinese loan RT claims will replace IMF's financing is in fact an infrastructure project Ukraine is negotiating with China involving road repair and bridge construction. According to a Financial Times report on the recent talks, the IMF wants progress on the anti-corruption court, natural gas pricing, and fiscal policy changes in order to unlock more loans from a faltering $17.5 billion assistance package. Finance Minister Daniluk called the IMF visit productive and said Ukraine would do everything possible in order to complete the program of cooperation with the fund. Launching the anti-corruption court is part of the program. Daniluk pointed out and said Ukraine would follow through, not because the IMF demands it, but because Ukrainians want such a court, seeing it as an important step in the transformation of their country. Pro-Kremlin site Ukraina.ru published an article this week claiming that food prices in Ukraine have grown to equal those of EU countries. This claim is based on a Facebook post by former Ukrainian Prime Minister Mykola Azarov, who served under ousted President Viktor Yanukovych. Azarov, in turn, cites the RIA Novosti, who present questionable data in an attractive infographic. RIA Novosti does not cite sources, and it is not clear where its data comes from. But things will get even worse. RIA Novosti warns that's what the experts say. The experts, of course, are not named. Azarov claims that prices grew to European levels after Ukraine signed the EU Association Agreement and opened its markets to European goods. This is the result of Ukraine's European integration, Russia media conclude. A bit of searching on the web shows that RIA Novosti got its numbers from an article in the Ukrainian newspaper Сегодня. Сегодня claims its sources are the Economic Discussion Club, an economic think tank organized by former ministers, bankers, commodity traders, and its own calculations. But it does not explain what they are based on. According to Ukraine's State Statistics Service, which tracks economic and financial data, while food prices are rising, the Consumer Price Index for 2017 was lower than 2015. The Economic Discussion Club's analysis also shows that the minimal cost of the basket of goods changes through the year. Сегодня compares Ukrainian consumer prices to those of Poland, a country which has some of the lowest food prices in Europe. According to the EU statistics agency Eurostat, if we take the average food prices for the European Union to be 100, then this ratio would have the value of 63% for Poland. Numbeo, a site that tracks the cost of living in different cities, shows that in February 2018, food prices in Krakow supermarkets were on average 56% higher than in Kyiv. The Numbeo Cost of Living Index shows Ukraine to be the least expensive country in Europe, along with Moldova, Macedonia, and Albania. The site compares food prices in various cities of the world, showing that Ukrainian prices, on average, have a long way to go before they reach EU levels. Russian media claim the story was reported by the local Greek press, but the story actually told by the Greek press is a far cry from the Russian version. Nevertheless, Russian sites eagerly spread the fake version of the football altercation, with Lenta.ru calling Ukrainian football fans Nazis. On February 15th, Ukraine's Dynamo Kyiv played the Greek team AEK Athens as part of the UEFA Europa League competition. Thousands of football fans descended upon Athens where the match was held, and police increased their presence on the streets in order to prevent possible clashes between football fans. Altercations did occur, and police arrested 18 people, 17 of whom were foreigners and were released that very evening. One person, a Greek national, remained in custody, according to the Greek publication Ephemerida. The Ephemerida article features 2 videos, one of which is entitled "Ukrainian Fans Fighting with Russians" and describes how a group of Ukrainians were walking by a cafe where Russians were sitting. A fight ensued between the groups. There is no mention of right sector, nor does the Greek newspaper ever refer to the Ukrainians as Nazis. A Greek eyewitness, Alexis Kouvelis, tweeted several videos of the fight, pointing out that Dynamo fans were attacked, but not by Greeks. Other football fans point out on social media that the Ukrainians were in fact attacked by Russian Spartak fans. The Russian sports website sports.ru also wrote that the Ukrainians were attacked by Russian football hooligans, as did the Ukrainian sports publication sport.ua. The Dynamo Kyiv and Spartak Moscow football clubs have a long historic rivalry stretching back to the USSR. There is no mention of right sector in any of the Greek publications about this event. That's it for this week. For more dissected fakes, as well as information on how to spot them, visit our website, StopFake.org. Be vigilant, respect your mind, and don't consume fakes. If you spot any disinformation about Ukraine, send it to us for a truth autopsy. Thanks for watching. I'm Aaron Kennet, and this is StopFake.